What's going on, everyone? It's been a while since we've been on. It's me and Paul the Hitman. We're going to do some wrestling talk tonight.
Yo.
Well, first line of business, we changed our name. We are no longer Blue Collar Sports. We are now Chicago Tough Sports Podcast. I kind of asked you and Scott what you guys think of the Chicago Tough. Little inside joke, and you guys seem to like it, so we're gonna go with that.
Yeah, I mean it's a play on, Kenny Williams talking about, he likes players who are Chicago tough, or you have to be Chicago tough. So,
Yeah.
I think at times we consider ourselves some meatball sports fans, and hey, why not go with that?
Yeah. So I always found it funny when you guys talked about it. So
yeah.
So I said, the hell with it, let's use it. But anyways, we're gonna talk some wrestling.
Sweet.
So, because I have to say, you have re-sparked my interest for wrestling within the last, I want to say within like the last 2 or so years.
Yeah. Well, first of all,
so cool.
First, I definitely appreciate that. I look at things totally different, in terms of wrestling, which is part of the reason why I don't get angry.
Yeah.
With that. There's two sides of how I look at wrestling in general now. It's one, I look at it as a fan, and the second, I look at it from the business aspect.
Yeah.
My theory is that if I can make sense out of whatever a wrestling promotion is doing, either using those two logical things, then I'm okay. If I can make sense of it as a fan, all right. If it makes sense business-wise, all right. As a fan, I may not like it, but hey, it makes sense for business.
Yeah, when Scott hosted that show we did with you and Jimmy, your top 10 WrestleMania matches, I was so pissed that I couldn't get in on that. I like beat myself up saying I should have been on top of this for a long time, and I don't know. I just had my roller coaster ride with wrestling. There's times I love it, and there were times where I just hated it, and I wouldn't watch anything with wrestling.
Yeah, you know what, and that's okay. I mean, equate wrestling to to sports. I mean, sometimes the White Sox or the Bears or the Eagles. Sometimes you're going to love it, sometimes you're going to hate it.
Yep.
But you'll come back.
Yeah, I'm back.
That's how I view it. Sometimes you're going to love it, sometimes you're going to do things that will pique your interest. Some things you'd be like, what the are they thinking? The other times I'm like, well, all right, well, it kind of makes sense. I may not like it, but yeah, it makes sense.
And it's funny because, as you know, WrestleMania just passed, night 1 and night 2.
Mm-hmm.
And night 2, you can probably guess what match, and I'll talk more about it when we get into it. I have never gotten pissed off at the result of a wrestling match before. I was freaking livid, livid. I don't want to get into it right now. I want to wait till we're talking about WrestleMania.
If we want to start with the whole Randy Orton Bray Wyatt match, hey, let's go right here.
Okay, fine.
Let's go into it. Let's get right on into it.
Night 2 WrestleMania. I'm sitting here eating my food, sitting with my wife. My wife decided to join me and watch some WrestleMania. It was great.
Cool.
So they announced the Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton match was first. I was like, okay, that's cool. As you guys know, I'm a big Bray Wyatt fan. When they started promoting him and started introducing him in the WWE, I got ecstatic about the whole Wyatt family thing. That's like my kind of shit. That dark, violent, evil, crazy shit. I'm 98% of the time, I cheer for the heel. I'm not a face guy. I'm a heel guy.
And you know what? I'm pretty sure there's other people that are like that, and there's nothing wrong with that.
So, as you probably know, as of lately, Bray Wyatt hasn't been doing shit. Like, even when he's been in the ring, he hasn't been doing shit. So, WrestleMania, I was like, okay, lights are gonna go off, and he's gonna pop up on the spring with the fun house and blah blah blah. Let's get this over with. But then they did the little thing of him walking down the hall as the burnt up fiend, and then he switched into the normal fiend, and then he kind of vanishes and disappears, and then Alexa Bliss comes out. Now with Alexa Bliss, I really like this character for her. I like it. I hope her and Bray Wyatt stay together for a long time. And I'll go back into that in a little bit.
Mhm.
So then they do the whole, they show the big Jack in the Box thing. And I told my wife, he's going to come out of the Jack in the Box. Or something silly is going to come out and he's going to sneak up behind Randy. That intro, I might catch some slack from you, Scott, and Jimmy from this. That entrance is my favorite WrestleMania entrance of all time. I've been watching a lot of WrestleMania events. I think I'm up to WrestleMania 24.
Mm-hmm.
That Bray Wyatt entrance was my favorite so far of any WrestleMania. As far
No,
as
the interest was good. Interest was good. Yeah, absolutely.
like, I was going ballistic in my living room. I was like, oh my God. And then he was actually wrestling. I was like, holy shit, Bray Wyatt is wrestling. I can't believe it. I feel that match, the way it was going, it could have been one of the better WrestleMania matches of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Top 10. Again, my knowledge of wrestling isn't up to par with you, Jimmy, or even Scott. But I feel I've watched enough to, I can say that.
Sure. Yeah.
Match is going on. He's about to Sister Abigail Randy Orton, probably win the match. And then Alexa Bliss, I'm guessing this is Sister Abigail come to life. Distracts him, Randy Orton RKOs him, and that's the goddamn match. I wanted to pick my couch up and slam it through my goddamn TV. I don't get it why Bray Wyatt cannot do anything in WWE. When he did win a belt, when did he win that belt? It was in that weird overseas pay-per-view they had, right?
Yeah, he was champion for a little bit, and then he are we referring to Wyatt family Bray Wyatt or Fiend Bray Wyatt as far as champion? Because he's been champion twice.
Yeah. Wyatt family Bray Wyatt.
Okay, I want to say Wyatt family Bray Wyatt won the title. I think it was 2017 maybe. Then he lost it to WrestleMania to Orton.
It was like a couple days later when he
Well,
lost.
it was a couple of months later when he lost to Orton.
Yeah, that pissed me off. And then he won the title as the Fiend.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take it away from him again. I don't understand why Bray Wyatt can't make a dominant run in the WWE. His gimmick, his character, it says dominance all over it. I'm going to destroy, kill, and dominate everyone and everything that gets in my path. But for some reason, he keeps getting bent over the table. And it pisses me off, dude. Like, seriously, I want him and Alexa Bliss to stay together. Well, we don't know what they're going to do with this story coming up. You sent me that tweet he sent out.
Yeah.
And I kind of did some research. It kind of looks like they're going to like break away from each other. But I kind of want them to stay together and leave WWE and go somewhere else, because I think he would be better utilized, say, in AEW, which I'm madly in love with, by the way, at the moment.
Well, let's go with the last part first. I don't think there will be anytime soon where the Bray Wyatt, the man, not necessarily the character, and Alexa Bliss leave WWE anytime soon.
Yeah.
That's number one. I share your sentiment in terms of the match itself. I too was disappointed in the outcome. I felt like Randy Orton didn't necessarily need to win the match.
Nope.
But as I told you when we first started, I understood why they did it.
Yeah.
Number one, it allowed the Bray Wyatt Fiend Randy Orton storyline to end. And I know Jimmy, Jimmy said that WrestleMania is where storylines should end. And the more I thought about it, he's correct. This storyline ended with Orton. The one that's still going, or the one that started up again, is or forming is this new storyline with Alexa Bliss and this new character that she formed.
Lily, right?
Yeah, Lily, along with the Bray Wyatt Fiend character.
Yeah.
That character, as I told you before, even dating back to when Bray Wyatt first came on board, is a complicated character. So you need a complicated storyline to go along with that. You need layers. This is just another one of those layers where now you all of a sudden you're getting a woman who's now kind of found a way to channel her dark side against Bray.
Yeah.
Now, what they will do with that, I hope that they go in a way that's great, but we have to see how creative, or even Bray Wyatt within itself. I don't know how much creative control Bray Wyatt has over this character. I know he has some. I know he has some, but I don't know how like if it's final say so in terms of his storylines and stuff like that. But we just have to wait and see. Like I said, I thought, well, first of all, I wouldn't have put that match on first, and especially with that result.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna put that what I personally would have done, honestly, for that particular match, Bray Wyatt would have won in 5 minutes. Yeah. That's Randy Orton is at a point where he doesn't need world titles. He's already okay. If you want to continue with this dominant Bray Wyatt character, all right, or the Fiend, then yeah, you want to beat him and beat Randy Orton in 5 minutes. Once again, as a fan, I didn't necessarily like how they did it, but I understood it because it bridges the gap to another developing storyline now between Alexa Bliss now learning how to channel this new inner demon-esque character that she has,
yeah,
versus now Bray, which is the tweet that I sent you, that we may now see a situation where it's Samson and Delilah.
Yeah.
Where now, the only one that can stop this unstoppable monster is a woman. And let's be honest, we've all been there where we're all strong, but somehow you get this chick that somehow can make you weak as hell.
Yeah. Yep.
And if they play that story out right, they can, it's realistic. But once again, it goes back to, can the WWE actually fulfill their storyline? It's there, but can they take it to where, it continues to build and make sense for the fans, and even for, the characters of Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss?
Yeah, I have to say, as a Bray Wyatt fan, I have to disagree with you. I don't want. I mean, I like the story, but I think it was you who said this story should have been done way before WrestleMania.
Oh, I agree with you, but the problem is that Randy Orton was the storyline. Him and Randy Orton was the storyline.
And I don't think they're necessarily done with Randy Orton, because on Monday Night Raw they had it was to challenge Bobby Lashley at Backlash. It was Orton, McIntyre,
and Strowman, yeah,
and Strowman, and McIntyre won. So with Orton losing, I don't know. I kind of think they're not done with Randy Orton yet with the whole Bray Wyatt story.
Hey, and that may be the case. Hey, you never know. With the WWE, you never say never. I personally don't want to see it, but it wouldn't shock me if Backlash they wrestle against each other. Once again,
Yeah.
don't want to see it, but I think the story moving forward is how does Alexa Bliss's character uses or manipulates the Fiend at this point. I think that's the story. And should Bray Wyatt be on top? Yeah, I mean, look, I hate to make this comparison because the two is not the same in a way, but the gimmicks could be because they're both supposed to be supernatural.
Yeah.
The Undertaker from 90 to like 97. I mean, he really, I mean, his character was this phenom, the guy that was impervious to pain, but he didn't have the title that often. He didn't need the title.
Actually, I just what was I watching? WrestleMania 24, where he beat who the hell did he beat?
I think it was
Batista.
Mhm.
Where he beat Batista, and they said that was only his second time winning
Yeah.
the title.
Right. That character within itself didn't necessarily. There are guys within the industry that don't need a title, and
No.
Taker was one of them. I don't know if Bray Wyatt or the Fiend character is one of those that needs the title, but I will say he needs to be dominant. I do agree
Yes.
with you there. I
Yeah.
do agree with you there. You can still be dominant, but not be a guy that needs the title. You don't need the title.
Yep.
But I do agree that the character needs to be dominant. But I'm also wondering if this is also one of those things where, the Fiend overcomes whatever demon, and then Alexa Bliss I don't want to say goes by the wayside, but it's one of those where the storyline is basically, can the Fiend overcome the demoness? That's basically where I think it's going, and it should be interesting to see how that plays out.
And after he lost that match, I was texting with you and Scott and Jimmy. It was where I was, instead of doing a group text, I was doing all separate texts for some reason. And Scott said something that I was so glad he said it, because I always kind of thought it, but I didn't think it made sense.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that Scott said it. He said that Bray Wyatt, he's not a good wrestler, but his gimmick is so good. He doesn't have to be a good wrestler. He doesn't have to be all technical and make it look pretty. And it's just, I think the fans are willing to overlook the fact that he's not a great wrestler because he's got a good gimmick. And in my opinion, gimmicks like Bray Wyatt, they don't come around too often. Someone who can pull the gimmick off, I should say. The first one is who you mentioned, Undertaker,
Mhm.
Kane, Mick Foley, and Bray Wyatt. No one else pulls those gimmicks off the way they do.
Well, let me say this about being a good wrestler. I mean, let's be realistic. There's not many people in the WWE or AEW or whomever that are really top-notch wrestlers. I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, when you think of wrestlers, I think of Bret Hart, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Jericho, people that can actually mat wrestle.
Yep.
Stuff like that. And just like you said, what Bray Wyatt can do or Mike Rotunda can do is he can talk, and he can be entertaining. That's what Vince looks for. That's the difference between, let's say, you and I talked about this, between NXT and the main roster.
Yeah.
The main roster is more, can you entertain? Are you good on the mic? Can you sell merch? And then if you can wrestle, that's a cherry on top of the sundae.
Yeah.
That's good. You can wrestle. All right, cool. That's fine. Whereas it's a little different within NXT. The problem that I have in terms of the Bray Wyatt storyline or Bray Wyatt in general is I'm like you, like where is it going? You know, if this is the way that they're going with Alexa Bliss, if this is finally where we actually meet Sister Abigail and more, then that's fine. But you know, I want to know, or I want to see where else it goes, because I don't necessarily have the confidence and creative to see this through. It's not the talent within itself. The talent is fine. It's creative, and what at the end of the day, what Vince McMahon decides, because that's who decides all this stuff. I mean, you and I can have a a great idea if you and I are in a creative meeting at WWE, but if Vince McMahon looks at you and say that's not good shit, guess what they're going to go with? They're going to go with Vince McMahon's idea, and yours is going to be poo-poo.
Here, I don't want to linger on Bray Wyatt too much. I want to talk about other things, but
Sure.
I think one issue with Bray Wyatt is he doesn't fit in today's WWE. Attitude Era, he would have fit right the hell in. This whole Fiend and in the story, this whole story they're about to go on, it scares me because they're not going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah,
I kind of read a little bit. I kind of read a little bit of this Samson Delilah story.
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to pull this off, and they're not going to be able to do this right. They're not.
Hey, you know what?
It's too violent. It's too sexual. It's just too much for today's WWE with the PG rating, right? They have PG rating.
Mm-hmm.
No way. That's why I have the mindset of that Bray Wyatt needs to leave WWE. He needs to go somewhere where they have, if he's going to stick with this gimmick.
Well, the problem is that he can't stick with the gimmick. The gimmick is copyrighted by, if I'm not mistaken, by WWE. We can't stick with the gimmick.
Yeah.
So it'll just be him going somewhere else as, the man, Mike Rotunda.
Yeah.
But, or not Mike Rotunda. Wherever his real name is, not Mike Rotunda. I think Mike Rotunda is IRS, excuse me. But I understand what you're saying, and I do have that concern.
Yeah.
If it was a situation where creative was like creative at NXT, where Vince McMahon didn't have final say, and Vince McMahon, wants a little bit more gimmicky, a little bit more cartoony, then it might, if there was, it might be a little bit different. But right now, everything he wants entertaining, he wants cartoony, and unfortunately, with it may sell in terms of the business side of it, but as far as like the actual diehard wrestling fan, it probably won't.
No.
But then again, I've always maintained that Vince may not be looking for the diehard wrestling fan.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
I don't think Vince is. I think Vince is always concerned with the casual fan, the mainstream fan, as opposed to the diehard fan.
Yeah.
Because the diehard fan is, for the most part, the diehard fan is going to tune in on Mondays and Fridays and Wednesdays.
Yep.
And that's the God honest truth. Yep. He wants justification for the mainstream. He's always looked for that, and that's why he's got those contracts with Fox. He's got that that contract with USA, and even right now with Peacock, because he's looking for that mainstream, or even with ESPN and some of the stuff that they used to do. He's looking for those partnerships. He's looking for validation for his product.
Well, enough of Bray Wyatt because it just pisses me off. Like seriously, I've never gotten pissed off at the result of a wrestling match before. Never, ever.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Okay, now, right now, who are your 3 top favorite wrestlers right now?
Wow. In particular order, or
Yeah, just off the top of your head.
that's tough because I obviously I'm liking what I'm seeing with Roman Reigns, and you and I've discussed that. I I mean, if I that's tough because that there's people within all 3 brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT that I thoroughly enjoy. But if I had to go my top 3, maybe if you had to put a gun in my head and say, hey, who do you enjoy like right now?
Yeah.
It's probably the stuff Roman is doing, the stuff Bobby and MVP are doing, and I'm starting to be a big fan of Bianca Belair, and I'm sure there's others that I'm missing,
Yeah.
but if I have to go with I'll probably have to go with those 3 right now.
Well, right now, my top 3, none of them are on Raw or SmackDown. My top 3 are Darby Allin, Chris Jericho, and Karrion Kross.
Okay,
Darby Allin, did you watch AEW?
a little bit, yeah.
Um,
He wrestled Matt Hardy, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Did you see that match?
Mm-hmm. It was good. It was good.
That is what wrestling should be. That was one of the greatest matches I've ever watched. It was fast paced. They had good chemistry with each other. Even though Matt Hardy could barely move anymore. I don't know how that guy's still moving around. But when Darby Allin climbed, not to the top, but maybe like halfway of that scaffolding, whatever it was,
Yeah.
and he did the coffin drop on the Matt Hardy.
Look, yeah.
It's like, why can't they do shit like that on Raw or SmackDown?
Well, it's interesting because I think they could do more of that on SmackDown, but on Raw, they won't because of one person. It's Vince. It's Vince. You see that stuff that they do on NXT. Guess who runs NXT? It ain't Vince.
Nope.
It's Triple H.
You could tell.
Triple H. Triple H. Yeah, you can tell the difference, but yeah, it's just like you say, you can tell the differences between the product. You have one company that micromanages everything, then you have the other ones that go out and lets the talent be talented.
Yep.
And that's probably the issue that a lot of the diehard fans have right now, is that like every single week AEW dominates in terms of the 18 to 49 demographic. That's our age group, right? And that's because they do stuff that we like. But if you look at Raw or in some point SmackDown, it's not, and that's why they go to that PG-13 rating or PG rating, because it's not about us. It's not about our demographic. It's about that 5 to 17, or that age group, or maybe the older age group from like 49 to whatever. But it's not about the diehard. It's not about the diehard fan anymore. The diehard fan will typically be there. The WWE, particularly on Raw, or Vince McMahon in general, wants the mainstream.
Yeah.
Wants the mainstream. That's why, and I know I get heat from you guys because I know some of you all, a couple of you guys think I'm, always taking up for WWE. It's not the fact that I'm taking up for WWE. It's the fact that, like I told you, I look at it from a fan side and at the business side.
Yeah.
One of those got to make sense.
it does. It makes sense.
And if I can make sense of it from the business point of view, as a fan, I may not like it, but hey, if 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 I can just take a step back and say, all right, I can see why they did it, and it could generate money. All right, I understand it. I don't have to like it, but I get it. I get it. And that's the difference between the companies. I mean, Vince is looking at it, in my personal view, I could be wrong, at generating mainstream and money, whereas AEW might be a little more, all right, we're going to give the diehard fans what they've been missing from as a general product or a general competition to WWE.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people where, fuck Monday Night Raw or fuck WWE. I'm all AEW. No, I watch Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW. I enjoy them all. It's just right now, for me, the better brand is AEW right now.
Yeah, sure. And I tend to agree. Look, if I had to rank the shows right now, I would go NXT 1, just because I think they're a better wrestling product than AEW.
I can agree with you there. I see. I know what you're saying.
AEW is what we grew up on in the Attitude Era. Yep. That's basically what AEW is, like a combination of old school or 90s WWE and early ECW.
Yep. I was gonna say ECW.
So that's what you get with that. So I'll go NXT, AEW, SmackDown, and Raw. Those would be my my top, in that particular order. But yeah, but there's nothing wrong in liking all shows. Hey, you should want variety, right. and honestly, the only way that you would ever, even as fans, get Vince McMahon to change is if he starts seeing declining in numbers.
Yeah.
Or if he starts losing money.
Yep.
And I don't care what anybody says. Right now, Vince McMahon is not losing money.
No, God knows he's not. God knows he's not.
When you can pull off $100 million deals, no, you're not losing money.
No, you ain't losing shit.
No. So, and then another thing is, and I'm sure I'll catch crap for this later. Vince McMahon doesn't answer to us. He doesn't answer to us. Vince McMahon answers to shareholders and corporate executives at these stations. So or Saudi Arabia, he answers to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Right.
If the Crown Prince says, "Hey, I want to see Undertaker versus Goldberg, and we're going to pay you $100 million for you guys to come over and do this," guess what the main event of that Saudi pay-per-view is going to be?
Yep, Undertaker Goldberg.
Exactly, and you got a crap match.
Yep.
But hey, they got paid.
Yep. So my second favorite wrestler, another AEW guy right now, Scott's favorite wrestler, Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
I watch Jericho and I laugh hysterically. He is just, his mic skills are just phenomenal. This whole MJF, how he calls him my jerk off friend.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And then he could still wrestle. He could still move around. And the fact that he just built AEW, or he helped build AEW, and he's just doing all this. It's like, I can't not like Chris Jericho.
No, Chris Jericho is a guy that, and even when he said it in his interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin, that he constantly reinvents himself.
Yep.
He went from the Lionheart to Y2J, and then when Y2J left, he became a little bit more corporate. Yep. And then corporate left, and he came out with the list, and now he's kind of like he's a rock star now. That's what he's going for. He's a rock star, and just like you say, he can still wrestle. He can still do it on the mic. And the one thing that he enjoys the most probably is the creative freedom that he has with AEW. And I'm sure that that's part of the reason why he enjoys it, is because he has that. Yeah, but Chris Jericho's doing phenomenal stuff. I mean, every time the ratings come out and AEW does well, he calls himself the demo guy. Like he's the reason why
Yeah, I was actually
AEW is doing well.
I was actually looking at t-shirts. I'm probably going to buy a Jericho shirt tomorrow.
But hey, look, Chris Jericho's doing this thing. Chris Jericho is one of the hottest acts in wrestling right now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't necessarily think that he'll be like that. He would have been like that if he would have stayed in WWE. Sometimes change is good, even though as fans we don't want to see it. Sometimes change is good. It's healthy.
Yep.
But what I don't want to see is a lot of these former WWE guys going over just because. I don't want to see that.
Because then you're just turning it back into WWE if you do that.
Yeah, at that end, and or you turn into very old WCW. That worked out well for a while. And then, eventually WWE finally smarted up.
Yep.
And got lucky.
Okay, my third favorite wrestler, NXT guy, Karrion Kross.
Love him. Absolutely love him.
Is a badass mofo.
Yeah, he's good. The guy has the look. The guy can wrestle. He can talk. I thoroughly enjoyed his promo Tuesday night. I have to get used to saying Tuesday night because I'm used to NXT being on Wednesdays. But he has it all, and I'm really hoping he stays down there because I don't want him to go to Raw or even SmackDown to a lesser extent. But I definitely don't want him to go to Raw.
Oh no, I don't want him leaving NXT.
It's just he just has it all. And then Scarlett Bordeaux as his valet. That's just it does it for me.
I kind of wouldn't mind seeing Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss go over to NXT and kind of feud with Kross and Bordeaux.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. I mean, look, I'm all for if you're not getting a shot at on the main roster, go on to NXT. They know how to use you. Triple H will find a way to use you.
And I think he'll use the Fiend better than Vince McMahon's using him.
Oh yeah, well, that's because, like I said, Vince sees that as a more of a cartoon character.
Yeah.
And as opposed to Triple H, who wrestled in the Attitude Era, wrestled Undertaker, wrestled Foley, could use that as a way to build the Fiend back up into this indestructible monster.
And Kross, he's like Bray Wyatt, he's not the greatest wrestler. He does some cool shit, but his gimmick is really good.
Well, look, I will always go back to this point about quote unquote wrestling. I mean, this is where Jimmy and I disagree a little bit. Hogan could wrestle. In his AWA, NWA days, Hogan could do a little something.
Yeah.
But when he got to WWF, he didn't need to. He didn't need to wrestle. As long as you're entertaining in Vince McMahon's eyes, for the most part, you can get yourself over.
Yep.
You right now, you look at some of the top names that ever faces within the WWE had. Let's look at Austin. Austin could wrestle, but once he became this ginormous success, he didn't have to be. He just had to be entertained. Well, Austin had 4 moves that was his go-to. He could punch, he'll stump a mud hole in you, do Thesz press, and then he'll stun you.
Yep.
Same thing with The Rock. The Rock would come in, lay at the smack it down. He'll do an occasional bad sharpshooter. He'll people's elbow, rock bottom. But what got those guys over is they were able to captivate a crowd and they were able to be entertaining. I mean, and that's and wrestling these days is about it's about entertaining and being able to wrestle. It's just unfortunate that on the Raw side or the WWE side, it's a little bit more entertaining, less wrestling. Whereas NXT, it's the opposite. But I digress.
I think it's both over in AEW. I think you need to be a good wrestler and be entertaining at the same time.
Yeah, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think it helps. Let me take that back. It's a blessing and a curse right now that there are not any fans in attendance in some of these shows. I know for AEW or NXT, they have small amounts of fans, but for Raw, I mean, it's kind of a blessing in a way because as many Raws that have been bad, they would have been booed out the building.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But I will say this. But when it comes to this Roman Reigns storyline, especially like his first matches when he was starting to become this tribal chief and he was wrestling, Jey Uso, not having that crowd in attendance and you able to hear Roman talk to him. Yeah, no, that was good stuff. That was good stuff. But I like I said, I'm right now. It's every product has their strengths and weaknesses, and it's a good thing that there's a healthy amount of options to choose from if you're not a WWE product guy right now. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm glad AEW and NXT's wrong.
Yeah,
That's the best wrestling. Like you said, NXT's the better product, and AEW is the better wrestling right now. In my opinion, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, look, AEW, they, like I said, they do things that are accustomed to the diehard fan, which is why they're winning that diehard demographic. AEW is the more like it's the more territory, it's the more 80s style. It has that that late 80s, early 90s feel. Where the wrestling will get you over as opposed to your mic skills.
Well, I was reading. You sent me the message that they released a bunch of wrestlers today.
Mm-hmm.
Samoa Joe, which I get because of the injury. What was concussions? Right, too many concussions.
Yeah.
Bo Dallas, who I think should go to AEW. And the rest I don't give a shit about.
Well, yeah.
Now, do you think they did that to make room for? You think people are getting called up?
Oh, sure. I'm sure people are getting called up, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the WWE can still have a bunch of people on their roster, but it's just a matter of how they're going to use them. As if Samoa Joe is not going to be cleared for active competition because of his concussions, and Samoa Joe is a quote unquote wrestler, and he's not going to ever go and get cleared. Then what's the point of having him do commentary? You can get another guy and pay him half the money to do commentary. It may not be a money issue. It might just be a situation they just want another guy in there to do commentary. And since Joe can't wrestle, you can't have him around to do much of anything if he's not going to wrestle. Then as far as Mickie James, I'm actually shocked by that. I'm Mickie James and Samoa Joe were like two of the names that I was kind of like interesting because I still think Mickie James can go, but she's also another one that's been hurt over this past year.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much. Right, I don't care much for Mickie James. I mean, back in the day, Mickie James wrestling half nude. I mean, yes, I was all over that.
But. Yeah, but it's her. her storyline with Trish was great. She had some great WrestleMania matches, some other pay-per-view matches as well. But I just think that some of this younger talent, like she'll be a great foil, a great, like a heel Mickey James would be great for a person like Bianca Belair, who is still trying to, find her way as the top female within the company, or the top female right now babyface of the company. You get Mickey James as that heel that she'll be able to bring a lot out of her. So I'm definitely shocked by that. I'm also shocked by, Billy Kay and Peyton Royce being let go.
You're shocked?
They, I was shocked.
Oh.
I was shocked.
They're awful, especially Billy Kay. The whole walking around with her picture, resume thing.
Well, you want to know why? Because people find that entertaining. And
Yeah.
what I didn't
Going back to
understand
what
is
you
that
said, the entertainment part.
it's the entertainment part of it. If you could entertain, then that's good on Vince's part. So I don't understand why they were let go. Tucker, I can care less. I will say this: they really missed the boat with Bo Dallas.
Yep. What was his gimmick when he first came in?
He was a guy that believed.
There you go, believe.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, that gimmick was awesome. That gimmick was over, especially with the fans. And then he got hurt, and then they put him with Kurt Hennig's son. And that tag team was called, it was a B team, and that tag team was pretty good. And then I think he got hurt and just never was heard from again. But they could have put him with Bray Wyatt. Yep. Why not? You want to talk about an actual family member being a part of the family, Wyatt family? Yeah. You could have done that. Yep. That made logical sense to do that, but nothing that the WWE does is logical.
They could have used him with the story they're about to do with Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, absolutely.
They could have done something. It would have been corny as hell, but they could have used them.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as like the other stuff, I wasn't a big fan of Mojo Rawley. No. Tucker from Heavy Machinery, I don't, I didn't really care for. But hey, I hope a lot of these wrestlers go on to other promotions and kill it, because if they do, it's great for business.
I know I asked if you think anyone's going to get called up. 4 names come to mind to me from NXT that could possibly get called up. Mm-hmm. Bronson Reed, Adam Cole, Io Shirai, and God forbid Karrion Kross.
I don't think Karrion Kross is going for a while.
I hope he never goes.
Adam Cole may. He may.
He kind of reminds me of AJ Styles before AJ Styles started acting retarded.
Yeah.
Like he does now. This whole tag team with Omos, it's stupid beyond belief. That's who Adam Cole kind of reminds me of, like the badass AJ Styles.
Yeah.
The AJ Styles I enjoyed watching.
Yeah, I mean, AJ Styles is, once again, it goes back to AJ Styles is a good wrestler. Yeah. Can he talk? Sure. Is he entertaining? Yeah. I mean, wrestling wise, he's entertaining, but is he entertaining to a point where Vince McMahon was going to look at you and say, I can make money off you? Yeah. I don't think, I mean, I don't know Vince McMahon personally, but just by me watching wrestling, and I can, he can be champion, he could do things, but can Vince McMahon, make money off you? Yeah. Honestly, yes and no. Which is why, my argument for anybody that says that, that the title should main event pay-per-views. Okay, you're right, but look at what AJ Styles was. AJ Styles was champion for almost a year. Yeah. Didn't main event one pay-per-view.
I looked into that too. I heard that on was it Busted Open?
Yeah, he did main event one pay-per-view.
I'm like, no way.
Did not main event one pay. The one main event he did the one pay-per-view he did main event was Survivor Series. That's because he wrestled Brock.
God,
If I'm not mistaken, he wrestled Brock.
yeah, that would have been a long time ago because I don't remember that.
So, if AJ Styles is good. I'm interested to see how him and Omos pair together. But I'm like you. I don't know. I'm hoping that just don't make him comical, and that's my concern. You got all these guys who are big and strong. Don't make him comical. Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman should be dominant.
Yeah,
But
I don't like Strowman anymore.
But they made him comical. If you're gonna have a big guy like that, turn him into a Kane-like figure where, I mean, he doesn't have to be Kane, but have him be feared.
Yeah.
Have him be feared. And he's not. And that storyline with Shane where he's calling him dumb and stupid and stuff like that. No, that doesn't sit well. Because now you're taking a guy who should be, running roughshod over the company and turning them into, a laughing stock because of your choice of words and how the storyline is playing out.
Braun Strowman is not a face; he's a heel.
Exactly. Or honestly, you don't even have to define what a face is. You can still be a person that's a tweener. Here's the thing, and this goes back to the Austin days. Fans will decide who they will cheer and boo for.
Yep.
As much as Austin was a heel back in the early 90s, people were starting to cheer for him because he did stuff that people like. Fans will determine if you're going to be a face or a heel. You don't have to force feed it, which is why people dislike Roman, because they pushed him to be at the top babyface, which he's not a babyface. That character is perfect for him right now.
Yeah, I have to say, I like Roman Reigns as a heel.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something about his character now. I'm just enjoying it. He's
Well,
still
because
Superman punch, and his mic skills are good. I like it. I like his mic skills. His the SmackDown before WrestleMania, that little promo he cut at the end, that was really good.
Well, part of the reason is because that has Paul Heyman written all over.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman is good at what he does, and Paul Heyman will give you bullet points and go, hey, this is your promo, this is your bullet points, hit those and put in filler if you want. Yep. It's not scripted as Vince McMahon wants it to be. And that's part of the problem within the company right now, is that all these promos are scripted. The best thing that ever happened about WrestleMania was when they had that weather delay and they had to go off script.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
So you saw some of those guys who had to, do promos off the cuff. You saw the people who can do it and who couldn't.
Like they had to do back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, look, everything doesn't have to be, I'm going to say this, you say this back and go and memorize. You can give bullet points and just go from there. That's a very good promo.
Yep.
I mean, that's, Bully Ray always talks about who, what, when, where, why, and how. Hit those and call it a day.
Another guy I'm really into now that he has a belt, is Lashley.
Yes.
Even his damn entrance is better.
And you know what's great about Lashley is the fact that number one, MVP is with him. MVP is the Black Heyman now.
It's Brock and Heyman. That's what.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But what they allow Bobby to do is just they build up Bobby to be this badass, and it took them a while, and it's great to see because Bobby Lashley is a legit badass.
Yep.
Comes from the MMA world, so and plus he's everything that you wanted Brock to be. He's going to be around. He's going to defend that title. You know, he looks the part. He comes out in $5,000 suits. You know, and you know he Bobby's good for business,
Yep.
and he can wrestle. He has an amateur wrestling background. Bobby can do some stuff. Bobby's athletic.
Yeah. Yeah, he can move around for big dude. A
Yeah.
muscular dude.
Look, he brings credibility to that title.
I'm glad they broke up the Hurt business.
Um,
I didn't like Sheldon Benjamin and what's his name?
Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, I always get him and Woods mixed up.
I wouldn't mind seeing them back together, and you don't have to have them together all the time. But I don't necessarily think the Hurt business shouldn't have been broken up. You can have them as members of the Hurt business, but still have them away from Bobby and MVP. You can do that.
I just enjoy Lashley by himself. Just
Yeah, and you know what? And that's probably the reason why they broke him up, is so he wouldn't be tied to the Hurt business.
I'm just tired of watching him square up against McIntyre. Drew McIntyre's kind of starting to bore me a little bit. Like I like the Claymore kick. I think that's just cool, but
yeah, well, McIntyre did an admirable job holding down the company for the year of the pandemic.
Yeah.
He's a pandemic champion, but I do agree that after Backlash we'll get somebody else challenging for that title.
Like,
I have no clue.
Like why isn't Orton going at it with Lashley? That would have been cool.
He should.
Yeah.
Before he got destroyed on Raw, I was hoping Riddle would do it. I would love to see a Bobby Lashley Sheamus match.
I'm not a Sheamus guy.
There's guys, on Raw that could possibly challenge for that title if they're built right. That's
why I think they're gonna call up Bronson Reed.
Hey, I like Bronson Reed, but I just hope that they don't make him into a cartoon character.
Yeah. Definitely be a heel.
Yeah, I mean, that's my concern. My concern with all these NXT guys, when they come up, they're going to get lost. I'm honestly concerned about Rhea Ripley. As much as I like for her to have the title, I'm concerned that she's going to get lost and it is going to be given back to Charlotte Flair.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I don't want that. I want, as much as I also love Charlotte Flair, she's great in what she does, but I think Rhea Ripley should have that title for a while to establish her.
Charlotte Flair's heel now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that Charlotte Flair. She didn't come out in that stupid gown and stupid music.
No, I mean, her promo was great. She basically talked to the internet community, basically saying that I don't give a damn what you say. I am the opportunity.
Yeah, I really like that.
Her promo was great. She doesn't need the title. Charlotte Flair is one of those people that don't need the title right now. Build up Rhea Ripley. Build her up. She'll
probably get lost, man.
She needs to be the dominant heel female figure on that brand, and she could be. But
is she a heel or a face? Right now, no.
You know what the funny thing is?
I don't think she.
That's the problem. Yeah. No one knows. I think she's a heel. She should be a heel, but we won't. But we don't know. because they didn't build her right yet.
No, they just kind of waltzed her in there.
Yeah, they didn't build her right. You know, she was a kind of like a tweener in NXT, which is fine because that happens. And you know, but when you go to the main roster, you got to establish yourself. You know, and that's part of the problem. Since there are no fans right now, they can kind of get away with, all right, we're going to do this because we technically won't have anybody booing the product right now.
Yeah, right.
So
It's going to be an issue.
it is. Well, it is going to be an issue, but but they don't really have to worry about that until, you know, until SummerSlam, until August. That's when I think they'll probably have, you know, their next main pay-per-view will be outside. It'll be SummerSlam.
Hopefully it's
And
good.
then hopefully you'll have a situation where they will, you know, be able to establish some more characters. But, you know, it's, you know, I don't know if I have the confidence that they can tell stories that will one, create stars, and two, keep fans entertained.
We'll have to wait and see. So
At least on Raw. SmackDown, different story. NXT is a different story.
yeah,
AEW is a different story. But on Raw, you know, it's comical at times.
too comical.
You know, I watched Raw this past Monday, and some of the stuff I was like, yeah, I don't get it. And I was like, business wise, this doesn't make sense to me, because I was also looking at it from this point of view. The tag team title match between Tamina, Natalia versus Shayna and Nia, I personally thought that they were going to be new tag team champions.
Yeah, I'm sick of seeing them.
And then they didn't do it because you actually had people chanting Tamina's name, and you could have, and Tamina could have had her WrestleMania moment and had new tag team champions. They could have done that, but you know, they chose to keep the titles on those two, which I don't understand why. And they just totally just messed up Shayna Baszler in general.
Yeah.
You know, Shayna Baszler should be the legit ass kicking badass on Raw.
Yep.
That should be your top heel in your women's division right there.
I'm sure she'll eventually turn on Nia Jax.
The problem with that is that if she turns on Nia Jax, guess what happens? She immediately becomes a face. Because but she becomes a face because people don't like Nia Jax. That's the problem.
I still want to see her beat the shit out of her.
Yeah, that's fine, but you'll be cheering for it, and so will a million other people. What needs to happen is she needs to go after, you know, a over baby face. You know, that's why, you know, that's why Shayna was popular when she was a heel, because she was going after Becky, and Becky was super over.
It was Elimination Chamber, right? When
yeah,
she showed up. Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like they build her up like to be like this ass kicker in Elimination Chamber before WrestleMania 36, where she choked everyone out. I was like, all right, this is good. And then she bit Becky's neck and turned her comical.
Yeah, that was stupid. I fast forward from that point on. Whenever she came out, I watched nothing of hers because that was stupid.
And that's part of the problem, is that the WWE will get to a point where we're like, all right, you know, we got this person, we're going to build them up, we're good, and then they let you down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a problem with Raw. SmackDown, not so much.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good a good spot to leave it off now.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, look, wrestling right now is there's some good, there's some bad, there's some nah,
Bad than good.
but I do think there's more good than nah. And more, I mean, there's some great look. There's some times when the WWE does great stuff on Raw. There's been times when they do great stuff on SmackDown. But it's just not consistent. It's 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 kind of like the White Sox offense right now.
That's a different show.
Right, that's a different show. But yeah, I mean,
still haven't watched the game yet.
Yeah, you don't want to. But yeah, I mean, they overall, I mean, and I'm going to be honest, when the WWE is firing on all cylinders, and I'm just I'm not even going to include NXT because that's a different animal. When Raw and SmackDown are firing on all cylinders, they're better than AEW.
Oh, that's debatable.
No. That's not debatable. When they're firing on all cylinders, when they do everything right, when the booking is good, when the wrestling is good, the entertainment is good, they're better than AEW.
We're gonna save this debate for a different one, for a different time, because that's gonna be a debate. Because I totally disagree with you on that.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
And I want to debate that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I
want all four of us to debate that.
Okay.
But I could get into that, but not right now.
That's fine. No worries.
I want to actually make sure I have things written down and like bullet points.
But here's the thing, though, and I know we got to go. Yeah. Here's the thing. It's when I say firing all cylinders and it's better than AEW, it's because of the actual talent from top to bottom on the WWE roster. If they use everybody correctly to their talent.
Okay.
Because for me, AEW is top heavy. It's Jericho, Moxley, MJF, a few more people, and that's kind of it. Whereas WWE, Reigns, Seth Rollins, Cesaro, Lashley, McIntyre, and then there's more. If they use everybody correctly, like how they did in the Attitude Era, where everybody had a story, everybody was over, yeah, there's nothing that can stop the machine that's known as WWE. Not even AEW.
Okay. I'm gonna get ready for that one. I gotta get ready. So, all right, well, we're gonna end it right there.
Cool. So,
well, thanks for having the conversation, doing the recording with me.
Yeah, no worries. So let's plan to switch subjects and talk about the week that was White Sox baseball.
Definitely. Definitely. All right, brother. I will talk to you Sunday night.
All right, take it easy.
Yep.
Yep.